Good afternoon. This is Pam Wade at the South Florida Water Management District, Bureau Chief for the Everglades and Estuaries Protection Bureau. Welcome to our third round of rule workshops for the Northern Everglades and Estuaries 40E-61, Works the District regulations. It's 2 o'clock, I'm sorry, 1 o'clock. We still have people signing in, and we're going to go ahead as attendees. We're going to go ahead and give it just maybe 1 or 2 more minutes before we start the meeting. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Jennifer Reynolds. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think we've given everybody a few minutes to get logged in and to get their screens up and figure out how to participate in today's workshop. Again, thanks for joining us. This is an exciting day, I think, for all of us. We are really happy and excited to bring forward some information to all of you to help you understand how we see moving forward with the Northern Everglades program and really addressing some of the water quality challenges that we have in our basins. And so the presentation that Stephanie is going to provide today will offer you some insight on not just how we assess and evaluate our target areas, but also how we're going to make that information available to the public, transparent to the public, and help you understand how we are providing this
Hey,
Hey,
Jennifer.
Stephanie, I think
Yeah, go ahead.
Jennifer is
Sounds
having
like we're
some.
having, okay.
Yeah.
This is Pam Wade. Again, it sounds like we're having some audio issues from Jennifer's end, but just to pick up where she left off, we're excited today about bringing you a couple of presentations. One is on the 40E-61 rule updates, which is just one tool in the toolbox of the many things that we've got going on in the Northern Everglades to assist in restoring the watersheds there and assisting DEP, and also a presentation on our new DB hydro system that will allow the public to have access to the many data systems that we have to share how we're doing in collecting data across the watersheds. So we're going to start with the presentation by Stephanie Olson. She's a supervising scientist over our Northern Everglades unit, and she's the lead in doing the 40E-61 rule amendments as well as the Watershed Protection Plan annual updates. So with that, we'll turn it over to Stephanie. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Welcome to round 3 of the Chapter 40E-61 Rule Development Workshops. Today, we're going to discuss the latest draft 40E-61 rule amendments, which were posted to the district's website about 2 weeks ago. We'll talk about how they fit into the Northern Everglades protection planning process. Since 40E-61 is just one tool in the toolbox, today we are also going to be discussing other tools and activities underway to impact water quality. We have found that with webinars that there are benefits to holding questions and discussions until the end, so that's how we will proceed today. We have about 40 slides. We have the Q&A feature going in Zoom, so you can type in your questions at any time. Then at the end of the presentation, we will answer your questions. After the question period, we will open it up for public comment. And in the interest of allowing everyone an opportunity to speak, each person will have 1 3-minute period to make their comments. So here is the agenda for today's workshop. We're going to discuss the Northern Everglades protection planning process and agency roles. We'll also discuss how the watershed protection plans fit into the process and where 40E-61 fits in, and the statutory requirements and limits on the rule amendments. We're also going to have a separate presentation introducing a new tool called DB Hydro Insights immediately following this presentation. So let's begin by defining what is the Northern Everglades protection planning process. DEP defines the problem by determining which water bodies are impaired and sets restoration goals known as total maximum daily loads, or TMDLs. DEP also develops Basin Management Action Plans, or BMAPs, which lay out the strategy to achieve the TMDLs, and these include various projects and programs. The projects and programs are completed by local entities, DACs, DEP, and the Water Management District, who must all work together. No one group by itself can achieve the restoration. So it is a collective effort within each watershed. The 3 coordinating agencies with major responsibilities for the Northern Everglades restoration are the Northern Everglades and Estuaries Protection Program, or NEEP statute, lays out the coordinating agency roles. There is also an interagency agreement which further defines the roles in the Lake Okeechobee watershed. DEP has the lead on establishing TMDLs and achieving those restoration goals through adopting, implementing, and enforcing BMAPs, the restoration plans. DEP also has responsibility for controlling urban and non-ag sources of pollutants and alternative technologies. DACS has the lead on agricultural BMPs, technology projects, and BMP research. The district has the lead on hydrologic improvement under the watershed protection plans, which include the construction of facilities and implementing monitoring and research programs to assist in reducing nutrient loads. The district is also responsible for storage and treatment projects, alternative technologies, rules for discharges not implementing BMPs, and surface water permitting through the Environmental Resource Permitting Program, or ERPs. ERPs are processed either by the DEP or Water Management District in accordance with the division of responsibilities specified in operating agreements between DEP and the Water Management District. Local entities are responsible for ordinances such as fertilizer limits and projects and programs such as sediment traps and street sweeping. This is typically done under DEP's permitting program, such as the Municipal Storm Sewer Systems, or MS4. These programs are included in the BMAP. One of the district's responsibilities is the Watershed Protection Plan, which consists of the Research and Water Quality Monitoring Programs and the Watershed Construction Project and Programs. Remember that the BMAPs are the plan to achieve the restoration goals. DEP uses the latest science, data, and other information to update the BMAPs, and much of this science and data comes from the Watershed Protection Plans, including the Research and Water Quality Monitoring Programs and the Watershed Construction Projects and Programs. The Research and Water Quality Monitoring Program includes data analysis from the district's monitoring network, including flow, water quality, precipitation, and biological monitoring. This includes monitoring programs at major water control structures, upstream tributaries within the watershed, and monitoring programs within the northern Everglades. The Watershed Construction Project and Programs consist of treatment and storage facilities, including public works and public-private partnerships, while programs are comprised of regulatory and non-regulatory programs, incentive-based and cost-share programs, and non-structural projects. The district includes important updates in the Watershed Protection Plan that help to inform DEP's BMAP Annual Progress Report and the 5-year BMAP updates. So this is an iterative process of reviewing and updating the Watershed Protection Plans and the BMAPs, which is important to managing the latest and greatest information to adjust the course and stay on track. Now let's look a little closer at the Watershed Protection Plan process. The district has recently revised its approach on the Watershed Protection Plan process. This was done in an effort to accelerate actions and activities to speed up the restoration process and to increase transparency and engaging the public with new tools and workshops so that the public can hold the coordinating agencies accountable in the restoration efforts. The district has selected areas with the highest nutrient levels and loads to focus on first. So let's go a little bit deeper into each of these topics. In the last year, the district has worked in accelerating actions that lead to improved water quality. Some examples include increased monitoring, the development of expert teams to define action, ensuring BMPs are implemented on district lease lands, annual progress reviews for the Watershed Protection Plans instead of the 3 to 5 year reviews, and selecting focus areas to initiate actions. And we're going to go into these in a little bit more detail in the next few slides. In August of 2019, the Governing Board approved the expanded monitoring network, and collection at the expanded monitoring sites was initiated in February of this year. The district has 2 levels of monitoring. Basin level, which is typically at structures where flow is monitored and loads can be calculated, and those are shown by the red squares on this map on this slide. We also have upstream level sites, which are upstream of the basin level sites within the watershed. These are typically grab samples with no flow measurements available. And those sites are shown in green for the existing sites, and the expanded sites are shown in yellow on this map. 67 upstream monitoring sites were added. Frequency at the existing sites was increased from monthly to biweekly, and additional parameters were added to increase the knowledge of the source of the nutrients. Data from this expanded network will pinpoint problems to be addressed. It also provides additional scientific data representative of pollutant sources to the Blue-Green Algae Task Force. The upstream monitoring data were included in this year's South Florida Environmental Report in the Chapter 8 appendices. However, we only had a partial water year to report. The district will continue to use the expanded monitoring data to work with our coordinating agency partners to spur actions or provide updates on progress. Here are a couple of examples where our coordinating agency partners followed up in areas where the upstream data indicated that there were problems and how the data currently look. We will begin with the site that flows to Otter Creek, which is in the S191 basin in the Taylor Creek Nubbin Sluice of Watershed. This graph depicts the total phosphorus concentrations in micrograms per liter as green diamonds. And the bars in the background are rainfall in inches. The district had been monitoring this site, and we noticed around 2013, 2014, that our concentrations seemed to jump up. So we spoke to our coordinating agency partners, and this site is downstream of a dairy, so DEP went and met with the dairyman, who reported that he'd had a damaged overflow pipe from a waste storage pond that had been run over by a mower. He did replace that in water year 2015. A denuded area was also noted on the property, and that became grassed again in 2017. And since then, the concentrations seem to have improved. Another example is a site that flows to Turkey Slough. This is in the S154 basin, which is in the Taylor Creek Nubbin Slough subwatershed as well. And at this particular site, you can kind of see a visual decreasing trend. However, in 2014, 2015, again, the concentrations were a little higher than what we had expected. So we spoke to our coordinating agency partners. This site is also downstream of the dairy. DEP went out and did a dairy inspection and discovered a broken riser culvert on the property. The dairymen repaired the culvert, and since then the concentrations decreased in 2016 and 2017. It did increase again in 2018. We didn't have any samples in 2019, and in 2020 the concentrations were again more along the lines of what we would hope to see. The third example is in Gopher Gully, or I should say the site flows to Gopher Gully. And this is a case where DAX and NRCS worked with an upstream landowner to install riser culverts on a property that flows to this particular site. Prior to the installation, the concentrations were around 1,200 micrograms per liter, and post-installation, they were lower. So it appears to be moving in the correct direction. Then our last example is a site that flows to Bonnet Creek, which is in the Lake Istapoga subwatershed. And at this particular site, again, this kind of happened a while ago, but we noticed that the concentrations were almost doubled in water years 2010 and 2012. And we again met with the coordinating agencies to discuss this. We even had a joint water quality survey conducted in the area to try to determine the cause. Unfortunately, that survey results were inconclusive. However, DAX did work very hard to prioritize cost share BMPs upstream of this site. And after that, the concentrations improved, with the exception now of water year 2020. We have spoken to DAX and DEP about this high concentration, and DEP will be conducting a site inspection in the near future on one of the properties. Sometimes it takes a while for the coordinating agencies to react to information, but we are getting better at working together, as evidenced by the upcoming coordinating agency workshop on December 2nd. We are focusing on water quality under Governor DeSantis' leadership and have funding to support moving forward with projects and activities to address problems more quickly. I also want to point out that the upstream data need to be carefully reviewed. It is very site-specific, and we're not sure yet how much each site impacts the downstream structures. We are working on this, beginning with the focus areas. Another project the district is actively working on is delineating the drainage areas for the upstream monitoring sites in the Lake Okeechobee watershed. The delineation has been completed for the river watershed upstream sites. The drainage delineation for 21 sites in the S191 basin will be completed by March of 2021, and that will be used for the assessment of this area. If the upstream site data indicate that there are high concentrations, this will allow us to pinpoint where problems are located and direct resources to the proper location. Also, we are using the information from this particular effort to ground truth the drainage delineation information provided by the WAM model. If the data track well, WAM will be used instead of this effort to allow us to complete this more quickly for the remaining areas of the Lake Okeechobee watershed. Now here is an example of monitoring conducted at a project. This is an interim storage project featuring an above-ground impoundment, or AGI. It is located in the St. Lucie River watershed and will operate until the land is required as part of the SERP Indian River Lagoon South Reservoir. The design estimated storage was about 2,900 acre-feet. And the data from our monitoring indicates that on average, this project is meeting its target goals. The district currently does not have the same kind of monitoring at all projects, but we are evaluating project performance and incorporating those evaluations into the watershed protection plans. The district has developed teams to address legacy phosphorus and one to review potential projects. The legacy phosphorus team includes members from all three coordinating agencies. The team's purpose is to improve knowledge on this topic and increase the science and potential solutions. The potential projects team includes subject matter experts from across the district to ensure that the district is considering all scientific and engineering aspects for future projects. Input from this team was used to select the focus areas. It was also used to apply for DEP grants for 9 separate projects, one of which was a new STA proposed to address loading from the S154 and S154C basins in the Taylor Creek-Nevins Slough subwatershed. That particular SDA would also be able to pull water from Lake Okeechobee. Since 2017, the district, when issuing new leases or renewing existing leases for cow-calf operations, requires that the lessees implement all applicable DACS BMPs and also implement land management requirements for the protection and enhancement of existing wetlands and natural resources. The land management requirements are above those required of typical BMPs. An example of a land management requirement is livestock exclusion fencing, which restricts cattle from the off-site discharge point at a setback of a couple hundred feet. Another example is the use of internal fencing used to rotate cattle from pasture to pasture. The district also requires aquatic vegetation control. Usually, the district is responsible for the larger canals, as in the photo on the bottom left of this slide, and the lessee is required to prevent growth in the smaller ditches which empty into the larger canals. This year, the district began the process of completing annual reviews for the Northern Everglades protection plans to incorporate updated data. These were included in the 2021 SFWR draft, which has been posted to the district's website. And we have the link on this slide, and our slides will be posted by the end of this week to our website. So you may go in now and review the draft protection plan updates and provide comments to the district. And as part of our mission to be more transparent, the district conducted several watershed protection plan workshops this summer to engage the public and stakeholders in the protection plan process. The website where you can find the most recent information on the protection plans is listed in this slide. You'll find there the meeting agendas, the presentations, and videos from all the workshops that we conducted this summer. The district is also introducing later at this workshop a new tool which will make it easier for the public to view water quality data, and there's going to be a separate presentation on this topic. At the public workshops conducted this summer, the district used an interactive survey tool called Mentimeter to obtain feedback from the workshop participants. An example of a poll question and its results are shown on this slide. Focus areas within each of the Northern Everglades watersheds were selected and presented to the public. The district received feedback from the workshop participants on the district selected focus areas and the factors that they consider to be most important when selecting focus areas. The district is shining a spotlight on these focus areas, which are the areas with the highest levels of nutrients and loads, through a detailed assessment. Please note that we do have an upcoming workshop with the coordinating agencies on December 2nd, and we hope that you can attend that. Now let's look at the focus areas in more detail. This slide shows the focus areas that the district is currently assessing. These are areas within the Northern Everglades where the data indicate that there is some of the worst water quality in terms of nutrient loads, unit area loads, and flow-weighted mean concentrations. But please understand that while the district is currently working in these areas to shine the spotlight, that doesn't mean that work will stop in other areas. And if a project or program opportunity arises in other areas, the district will move forward with them. It's just that we have about 4.5 million acres, and we need to start somewhere. The next steps are to determine what has been done in these focus areas, determine what still needs to be done, including identifying factors and causing the factors that are causing the water quality problems, and develop short-term, intermediate, and long-term solutions to achieve the restoration goals. While accounting for existing projects and programs, the district is reviewing such items as the location of septic tanks. We're looking at land use and BMP program coverage. Do all the areas within the watershed that should have BMPs, are they all covered? If not, where are the gaps? We're looking at other permits, such as ERPs and surface water management. We're also looking at existing and proposed projects. Are the projects effective? What types of projects do the water quality data indicate are needed for the focus area? We will also review any other pertinent information to find solutions to the water quality problems in these areas. This includes engaging with the public to obtain their feedback and ideas for potential solutions. The Environmental Resource Permitting Program, or ERP, is a program under the Watershed Protection Plan. It regulates the alteration of surface water flows, basically the construction of surface water management systems. And it requires that those systems be designed so that they do not cause or contribute to violations of state water quality standards. Furthermore, ERPs issued for properties that discharge to outstanding Florida waters, which are waters that DEP note as worthy for special protection because of natural attributes, and properties that discharge to impaired waters, which is the case of properties that would discharge to the lake or to the rivers. These properties must provide additional protective measures, including a site-specific pollutant loading analysis, and demonstrate a 50% water quality treatment volume above the amount required in Volume 2 of the ERP Applicant's Handbook. ERPs require a construction phase pollution prevention plan and an operational phase pollution prevention plan. The water bill passed in the 2020 legislative session calls for the ERP rules to be revised. Specifically, DEP and the water management districts must update stormwater design and operation regulations, including each water management district's individual applicant handbook. The updates must be based on the most recent scientific information and include low-impact design BMPs and design criteria to increase the removal of nutrients from stormwater discharges and consider measures to ensure significant reduction of pollutant loading. DEP has formed a technical advisory committee and held 2 public meetings to get input on this topic. DEP and the water management districts, including the South Florida Water Management District, are initiating rulemaking next month. Projects and programs in a focus area are making a difference. This is a time series plot of loading data from the S191 basin. The graph shows on the blue bars are the annual total phosphorus loads for each water year. The blue line is the 5-year rolling average. And if you look at this plot, you can see a couple of breakpoints. And I put the first breakpoint between 1986 and 1987. And I did that because you'll see in just a moment that there were some major programs that started coming online after 1987. But what you'll notice about the data that prior to this, the load from the S191 basin was often over 150 metric tons. So here are the projects and programs that came online between 1987 and 2009. And I put the second breakpoint between 2009 and 2010. And again, somebody may argue that it should go one way or the other, but I just put it here because it looked like it was decreasing a little bit further here. But what you'll notice between this particular breakpoint is that the loading from the S191 basin was never greater than 150 metric tons, but it was often over 100 metric tons. Then, for this third period, we had 3 more projects come online. One was a DAX hybrid wetland treatment facility, and then we had 2 more SDAs. And you'll notice for this period, There was only one year where the load was over 100 metric tons, and that was water year 2018, which was an unusual rainfall year for this basin. And I'll show a slide about that in just a moment. So progress has been made. However, there is still work to be done in this area. The unit area loads are still high for the S191 basin, relatively speaking. They're over 1 pound per acre. And DEP's BMAP data indicate a statistically significant increasing trend in total phosphorus concentrations from more recent years. And this next graphic that I will place over the other one has all the same information, except I've added red diamonds as the total phosphorus flow-weighted mean concentrations. So you can see it does kind of look like we are having some increases towards the end. So there's still work to be done in this area. Now this shows the basin rainfall for the S191 basin, and it is specific to this basin. We have some particular rainfall sites where we've done thief and polygon weighting. So this is specific to the S191 basin. And in water year 2018, it had the second highest annual rainfall for this period examined, which was from 1977 to 2020. And that rainfall in 2018 was 63.16 inches. And the maximum for this period was 63.8. The district continues to work with the other coordinating agencies to develop solutions and provide feedback on projects and programs. As I mentioned in the previous slides, these findings will be presented at workshops, so in addition to the public providing input on solutions, they may hold the coordinating agencies accountable. Another item that might be beneficial to review and potentially update is the interagency agreement, which was last updated in 2017. It does not include the river watersheds. So you may be wondering, where does 40E-61 fit in? It is one program under the NEEP statute. NEEP directs the district to revise 40E-61 to include monitoring criteria for those not implementing BMPs and to create rules for the river watersheds. House Bill 5003, which was passed last legislative session, requires that the proposed rules be limited to providing for a monitoring program for non-point source dischargers who are not implementing BMPs and are therefore required to conduct monitoring per the NEEP statute. Florida statutes also require the district to consider lower cost alternatives and to choose rules with the lowest cost. The district received a draft lower cost alternative from the public, which was very similar to DEP's statewide rules. Thus, the proposed rules were amended to be very similar to DEP's rules. Based on these legislative requirements, the October draft, which we released 2 weeks ago, eliminates the previous Part 1 that we had in the version that was released last April and revised Part 2 to be similar to DEP's rules. So we really do not have parts anymore, we just have the individual monitoring requirements. So non-point source dischargers that are not implementing BMPs must have an approved water quality monitoring plan and report their data. They must also take action if the water quality criteria are not met. Upon notification by the coordinating agencies of the need to implement BMPs or monitor, the non-point source discharger must submit their plan for approval within 180 days if they have elected to monitor. The district will review the plan and if it's sufficient, approve it by way of a letter. If it's not sufficient, the district will work with them until their plan meets the criteria. This slide lays out the requirements for the water quality monitoring plan, which must include items such as describing how the water flows onto and off of the property, the proposed monitoring locations, and sample methods. The plans must be renewed every 5 years, and they must be modified if the discharger makes a significant change that would impact the monitoring, such as rerouting the water on the property and maybe needing a new monitoring site. Also, at any time, if the discharger elects to implement BMPs, they may do so, and once the BMPs are implemented, the monitoring will no longer be required. If, after 3 years, the monitoring demonstrates that the water quality criteria for the parameters addressed by the BMAP are not met, the discharger must implement BMPs under the appropriate coordinating agency program. Once the BMPs are implemented, the water quality monitoring plan will no longer be required under these rules. So that pretty much sums up the draft rules. This is our revised rulemaking timeline. We're seeking your comments on the latest draft rules, and we plan to take this to our governing board to publish a notice of proposed rule in February of 2021. So the next steps are to receive comments, and we would like to have comments by December 22nd. And again, we will review all comments, compare it against our legislative requirements, and adjust draft rule text as needed. And just to remind everyone, we do have an interactive web board. That's where you can find the most recent draft rule text. You can find the information from the previous workshops. You can also find the draft lower cost alternative that was submitted to the district. And with that, I am now going to turn the mic over to Dwayne Piper, who is the Director of Information Technology at the Water Management District. He is going to provide an overview of a new tool that we're pretty excited about. It's called DB Hydro Insights. It will allow the public to review our data, and it helps us to further be transparent. So, Dwayne, you can take it away.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let me share my screen here. Good afternoon. My name is Dwayne Piper. I'm the Division Director of Information Technology here at the district. So you might be wondering, why is IT at a 40E-61 rulemaking meeting? Well, the answer is data. You just saw a lot of data presented by Stephanie. And so to continue to be transparent with our data, we're completely modernizing access to our system of record. So it's the access to the district's data that we're here today to talk to you about. Some of you may recall that this was the interface to DB Hydro during the 90s. It was quite modern for its time, but looking back at it now, we see it was pretty basic. It kind of looks like my first Atari video game. Then around 2003 to 2004, we introduced this newer web-based DB Hydro browser interface. It was quite an improvement. It still, however, had some inherent challenges. For example, you have to be very specific about what you're looking for. You need to know the structure, the site, or the basin name. When you pull data from our system, you would have to link it together with data from other systems to get a complete picture of what's happening in the area you're interested in. Some of you may even have taken a training classes here at the district where we teach you how to access this system. That's where you might have heard the name DB key. Well, that got us thinking, what if we made those connections between our systems ahead of time? Then, instead of spending valuable time linking our data together, the user community could spend more time on the analysis part instead of on the putting it all together part. Yes, we could curate the data for you, thereby providing insights into the data. So that's what we've done. Today I'm here to introduce and give a demo of this latest interface we call DB Hydro Insights. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to invite you to sign up for the beta release of Insights so that you can use the tool and work with us by providing your feedback. And I'll talk more about that later. The reason we call this DB Hydro Insights is because we have done most of the heavy lifting for you. We have eliminated the need to be an expert on our naming convention and really eliminated the need to be an expert on our database, DB Hydro. As you can see here, we have provided a lens or a view into the data from different perspectives, be it from sites, structures, stormwater treatment areas or watersheds, and even future lenses we can develop, such as a system lens or perhaps even a project lens. What these lenses do is curate together data from various systems to give the user a complete picture of what's happening around a particular area of interest. By doing the pre-linking of data, we think you're going to gain more insights from our system. These data linkages are pre-built with an engine we call one parameter. This basically takes away our DB key, which is our internal Coca-Cola formula, in order to provide you with deep insights into our data. Let's see the new tool in action. Hello, my name is Dwayne Piper. I'm the Division Director of Information Technology here at the South Florida Water Management District. Today, I'm really excited to introduce to you a new business intelligence and data analysis tool we're calling DB Hydro Insights. Insights completely modernizes access to the district's hydrologic and water quality database called DB Hydro. But as its new name implies, Insights does so much more. The district has collected data from manual readings to complex real-time data samplers for more than 70 years. Over that time, we have accumulated 3.5 billion instantaneous breakpoint hydrologic measurements, such as water levels, rainfall, gate openings, and pump speeds. Using this data, we have calculated 80 million daily values, such as average water levels and total sums of rainfall per day. Our water quality database is just as impressive, with 8.5 million samples, such as nitrate, phosphate, ammonia, nitrogen, pH, chloride, just to name a few, all of which were quality reviewed in our state-of-the-art scientific labs here at the district. Our rainfall database is vast too, with over 1.1 billion radar-based measurements at 15-minute increments. We've summarized that data into 35 million daily values for average rainfall by county, basin, and watershed. You know, Lake Okeechobee, or Big Water as its name means, is the largest lake in Florida. Some call it Florida's inland sea. We think our big data lake of 13 billion records is quite impressive too. Although we've provided access to our big data over the years, that has presented the public with a few challenges. For example, if you don't know our naming convention for our sites and structures, you could be lost easily. Or if you wanted to download data and correlate it together, you had to know something that we call a DB key. This DB key is our internal Coca-Cola secret formula. You might as well be in the matrix. So to get our data lake in the past, you had to have a guide. Although very useful for its time, it was complex, and not everyone could get the data to tell its story. But we've solved that for you today. We've created a map-based interface that's easy to use. And for those data lovers out there, we have masked our Coca-Cola secret formula so that all you get is a nice tasty beverage or the data that you're looking for in an easy to consume manner. We believe that just like Lake Okeechobee is an integral part of living in Florida, from the enjoyment of recreation use down to its critical function in Florida's ecosystem, that access to the district's data lake is just as impactful by putting it into everyone's hands. And we think we've done that with our DB Hydro Insights data analysis tool. Come on, let's take a closer look at Insights. Let's say you're interested in viewing the district's data, but you don't know the names of our structures or sites. For example, you think, I want to see what's going on around the lake. I heard the district recently launched a buoy in the middle of Lake Okeechobee somewhere, but I don't even know where that is. Well, let's open up DB Hydro Insights and see if we can find that buoy. Notice the beautiful map of Florida that appears. Map, we can select shape interested in this case, somewhere in the middle of the lake. So I know it's somewhere in the middle of the lake, right about here. The shape on the map allows us to identify the site you're interested in, and it is LZ40. Now we can view detailed data. Here, we can see current rainfall and the historical average for that day. Scrolling down, we can see additional water quality data. And here we curate this information together with rainfall data into this chart. From here, you can do a lot of analysis work, all starting from that one area on the map. For example, before the district deployed the buoy, we had point data collected periodically. You can see that here on the chart. But now as you get to the end of the chart, you can see that we've started continuous monitoring. And of course, we have the data here to show. We'll see more of this powerful charting feature later. So the mapping feature of DB Hydro Insights is very powerful. But let's say you already do know the structure name that you're interested in. What you really want is to download the data. Do you need to know the DB key? No, not at all. Let's take a closer look at the Get Data feature that we call the data lens in DB Hydro Insights. So here's the DB Hydro Insights homepage once again. We're going to click this time on the structure icon and we see the map appears. But since we know the structure name, let's say G370, we can type that right into the search bar. Now we see even more detail emerges as the map automatically zooms into the area of interest. In fact, notice the directional arrows at each structure. At this point, we want more specific details. So after selecting View Details, we really get into the nitty-gritty about the site. We see that it has 3 pumps. In fact, one pump is running now at 720 RPM. And we can even view more pump detail using this tool. Scrolling down and looking to the right, we can see this area is chock full of information that is curated specifically to the site you selected. Here you can see flow information, the operational ranges, and the historic average, and even a sample of the water quality data. Let's keep scrolling down though to look closer at our data feature. Here, we can look at current parameter conditions and monitored parameters. We get to see here the full power of one parameter in our Insights tool as we curate relevant data for you and bring it into a consolidated chart. This chart is the same feature we've already seen. No DB key is necessary. One parameter has done it all for you. Here you can view water quality or hydrologic data. We really think you're going to love this charting feature in Insights, and many people are going to use it online to do their analysis. Still, other users want to get at that data. Well, we've listened and provided the Get Data tab as well. By selecting the sites or stations of interest, you can fine-tune that and even save it to your favorites. Then you further define the data type you want, such as stage, with the frequency, either daily value or breakpoint or instantaneous. Then you finalize the date range of interest and the format you would like the data in. And we curate that data according to your selections. Look how the resulting file opens up in Excel, which is a very popular way that our users want to get their copy of our data. We find this tool is very powerful and we think you're going to love it. We think data scientists out there are really going to love the Get Data feature in our Insights data lens. And that's DB Hydro Insights powered by one parameter. We think you're really going to enjoy using this tool to unlock the story that's contained in the vast amounts of data available here at the South Florida Water Management District. So that's DB Hydro Insights, a map-based analysis tool you can use to gain access to the vast amounts of hydrologic and water quality data we have here at the district. By using business intelligence against this vast, big data lake, we have linked data sets together for you. Yes, the story of South Florida's ecosystem is captured in this data. With this new tool, you can free the data to tell its story. Oh, and there's one more thing. Since DB Hydro Insights is HTML5 compliant, it will work across all your digital platforms, including your mobile devices. We know you're going to enjoy using Insights on the go. Thank you. So certainly we have a lot of talented folks working here at the district. This software tool is the product of a cross-functional team working together. And we hope to add your name to our list as an outside partner who can really give us another perspective on DB Hydro Insights. So today, we are officially launching the DB Hydro Insights beta program. This is where, if you're interested, you can sign up to be a part of our focus group to help us fine-tune our new system interface. If you just go to one of these links, www.sfwmd.gov/insights, for example, will bring you to a sign-up page. This will in turn put you in contact with our team who will work together with you to fine-tune Insights as we prepare it for the public release. Now, what would this involve if you were to sign up? Over the course of the next month or so, we plan to have various one-hour sessions with those who sign up. This may include a questionnaire after we provide you direct access to DB Hydro Insights. Our objective is to gain feedback on the ease of use of this tool. Is it intuitive? Or do you think the district should provide structured training? Does the tool bring value to your daily needs? So we won't really be considering the condition of sites that the data talk about, say what's happening at a particular location. IT is not the scientists and engineers. Rather, we want your feedback on using the tool itself as a piece of software. We're really interested in making it intuitive and easy to use. So we look forward to your feedback. I thank you today for the opportunity to speak with you. And that's it.
This is Pam Wade again. Dwayne, thank you so much for such a great presentation. Even though I've seen it before, I'm sitting here thinking, wow. So as you can see, there's really a lot of data. And so hopefully you can see the potential through DB Hydro Insights as an important tool to ensure that you, the public, as well as scientists in our communities, have easy access to all this district data. If you've used DB Hydro previously, I'm sure you can appreciate these improvements. So through this tool, in combination with our web board that Stephanie mentioned and the South Florida Environmental Report, almost anyone can get information needed to be an engaged partner in the restoration efforts. And if you didn't already know, the most current South Florida Environmental Report is posted on our webpage for public comment. So please see Chapter 8 for the Northern Everglades information. There you can see useful summaries of the relevant DB Hydro data and the stories that the data are telling us in your areas of interest. So these are just examples of how the district is committed to greater transparency and really wants to encourage the public to engage in these efforts. Having the right information available increases the opportunities for you and really anyone to be on the team and to hold each other accountable for identifying the problems and solutions to improve water quality in our Northern Everglades. So we've had a lot of information presented today. I'm sure there are a few questions, so I'm going to take this time with the help of Danielle Taylor to field questions and provide answers. So I see on the board now we have 2 questions waiting to be answered, and these 2 actually relate specifically to data. One question is the shapefile of the expanded monitoring network stations available for download? Yes, that information is available. If you could just contact Stephanie through the information that she provided as the contact point, we can send you that information via email. The next question, is the water quality data available for download? Again, answer's the same. please contact Stephanie Olson and we can provide that information to you, or you can use DB Hydro Insights to actually get to that information directly. Another question just posted. What percentage of non-point generators have chosen the water quality monitoring option? And is the district able to measure potential load reductions from DMPs? Stephanie, would you like to take this question?
Thanks, Pam. Thus far, no non-point source discharges have elected to choose to monitor their water quality. And regarding the second, the load reductions from specific BMPs can be a difficult thing to discern. We can look at BMPs collectively, but you know, there's many factors when you're looking at downstream water quality monitoring sites. So that is something that we are still looking to specifically answer. So we're still working on that. Pam, should we move on to the next question?
Yes, sorry. Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for that response. I forgot to unmute myself. So there has been one more question posted by Gary Ritter. The question is, will there be any initiative by the district to equip the small tributary sites with flow monitoring capabilities? We have been looking at that for quite some time, and in the areas that we have found it easiest to do, we have done that. There's quite a bit more to be investigated in where we can do that at other sites. So each year, as we go through the watershed protection plans, one of our tasks is to optimize our monitoring network. So it's these types of questions that we'll be looking at opportunities and making recommendations for how we can improve those sites, including flow monitoring capabilities. Next question. If you discharge to a canal, which discharges to a Class 3 outstanding water do you need to provide 150% treatment? Stephanie, would you happen to be able to answer this question?
Unfortunately, I don't know about 150% treatment. I only know what I had on the slide for the ERP. Sorry, that's not really my area of expertise. And I believe they said 50% above the treatment volume that was listed in volume 2 of the applicant's handbook. But we can contact our ERP folks and try to follow up with you at a later time.
So if you'd like us to do that, you can again contact us through the contact information that Stephanie provided, and we'll respond to you directly. Danielle, are there any attendees that you see with raised hands that may have questions?
Hey, Pam, I see one attendee with their hand raised. Kay Gates.
So I'm not really very knowledgeable about this, but it looked to me like the rule change that you wanted to make about people doing self-monitoring. It just seems to me that maybe it would be so that they eventually don't have to do any monitoring. It just seems to me that you can never get rid of the monitoring because of the examples you showed before where things break down in the system, and sometimes folks aren't aware that something has broken down. So can you clarify with that rule change that the goal is to eliminate monitoring? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Very good question. The goal is actually to reduce nutrients entering the system. The monitoring, whether it's at the landowner's property boundary or the district's upstream monitoring network, tells us where we have problems in that the discharges are too high, the loads and discharges are too high. But when it comes to these individual properties for non-point source discharges, the ultimate goal is to have them to implement best management practices, because it's through those practices that will eventually minimize or reduce the nutrient loads going into the system. Monitoring doesn't really treat for anything. It's just information. So they have the ability to choose to monitor to show that they're already at levels that are below those needed to, instead of being required to implement BMPs. If they're unable to prove that, then they'll have to go back to doing a BMP plan, which is the ultimate goal, to get them to implement BMPs to actually make a difference in reducing the monitoring, the nutrient levels. And then through district monitoring within those areas, we will continue to monitor the levels that are discharged. So right now I see no more questions posted on the board. And Danielle, I'll look to you. Are there any other hands raised with questions?
There are no hands raised at this time, Pam.
So I had one comment requesting that the contact information, Stephanie, be shown on the screen again. I referred to it a couple of times. Who to contact if they have questions after the meeting.
This is Stephanie. Unfortunately, I think I failed to put that on my slide, but my email address is solson, O-L-S-O-N, @sfwmd.gov. And if you go to our website, our rulemaking website, you can contact me that way as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. We'll give it another couple of minutes to see if anyone else raises their hand or posts a question on the board. In the meantime, I'm going to open it up for any of our panelists if they'd like to make any comments or have any closing statements while we have a moment for more questions to arise.
Hey, Pam, this is Drew. Really appreciate the work you put in for this workshop. I'm looking forward to really zooming in on the targeted basins and getting the information together that Stephanie presented, and really helping everyone out there that's interested be able to engage in our analysis and engage in our information as much as possible. And I really want to thank Dwayne and his team. They've been working on DB Hydro Insights for more than a year, I know, because they were working on it when I arrived. And now here we are in beta testing, and certainly encourage folks to engage us, help us make this a useful tool. I'm excited to present it. I really enjoyed the video, Dwayne, you put together. I think you're the next Steve Jobs as far as I can tell. You're certainly my Steve Jobs. So I really appreciate everyone's efforts on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Drew. As a follow-up to that, Dwayne, would you be able to tell everyone when DB Hydro Insights will be going live to the public? We've got that as a question on the board. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. And so we really want to get public beta access today. So if you sign up, we'll get an account for you and you'll have access almost immediately. And then we're going to use the focus group to incorporate some feedback over the next few months as we prepare the system for public access. We're concerned about things such as performance, the ease of use, as well as security. So we want to make sure we deal with all those things first before we release it wholeheartedly to the public. But anyone that really wants to be part of that beta, if you sign up today, we'll contact you, we'll get your user account, and you can start using it.
Thank you, Dwayne. Another statement actually has come up on the board, and I'll read that now. Can we consider water quality protection standards for waterfront properties and canal front properties? In the Chesapeake Bay, they require resource protection areas for all land that touches water that drains to the bay, all creeks and streams included. There's an imaginary 100-foot buffer which is offset from any waterway draining to the protected waters, and land development within the RPA buffer is very stringent. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, this Chesapeake Bay requirement. So what we'll do is we'll take the time after our workshop to go see what they're actually requiring and see what kind of applicability that that would have to what we're doing here in the Northern Everglades. Thank you.
And Pam, we do have one hand raised.
Okay.
So Nyla Pipes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nyla Pipes, One Florida Foundation. I just wanted to, first of all, commend you for your efforts to make the data more accessible for the public. I think that that's going to be a really useful tool. A lot of people really find the current way that we go about getting our hands on data clunky for all the reasons that you mentioned. So I'm excited to see how this improves that. Regarding the 40E-61 rule, you know, it makes my heart sing every time we talk about the septic issues, because I firmly believe that they are a much larger part of this conversation than people even realize. So I was really thrilled to see that that is part of what you're looking at with the Northern Estuaries, you know, the protection plan and all of that. Specific to 40E-61, I think it's really important that we continue to work together as beautifully between the agencies that as you all have. And also, you know, just note that we are required by law to keep things, you know, as low cost as possible. This isn't a goal to overregulate people into not being able to afford to continue doing what they do on their land. And, you know, I just want to remind everybody that, you know, cattle operations north of the lake, dairy operations, all of those sorts of things are that last, you know, stand against development. And I'm sure it hasn't escaped anyone's notice that St. Lucie County, you know, we've just announced a new development. And of course, it's supposed to be a better, more environmentally friendly development, but there's an entire new town going out near Indrio Road. So that's what we're up against. And so as we, you know, continue with the rulemaking process, yes, of course, everyone needs to be held accountable and do their part. But I'm really intrigued by, you know, the prior comment that said, hey, what about the people with homes right next to water bodies? What about, you know, people downstream from Lake O, that sort of thing? I think we need to look harder at those urban impacts as well. You know, recognizing that 40E-61 is specific to the more agricultural end of things. But let's just, you know, keep the process going. And you guys are doing some great work, and working together with the agencies and within the letter of the law is really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Nyla. Point of clarification, 40E-61 addresses all non-point source discharges, whether they're ag or non-ag, as does the BMAPs that DEP adopts. Of course, DAX handles primarily the agricultural end of it, but just wanted to make sure everyone understood that. But great comments, thank you.
We've got one more hand up as well, Pam.
Yes, Ernie Barnett, your hand is up.
Hi, thank you, Pam. So Pam, Drew, Jennifer, Stephanie, Dwayne, everybody on the Water Management District team, wanted to compliment you for an excellent workshop. And also, I think you're on the right track. Lake Okeechobee achieving the TMDL is so critical, not only for the health of the lake, but it's so interconnected to the entirety of the South Florida ecosystem. And I've long advocated for the working through the interagency team and implementing the watershed protection plans and the BMAPs, not only in Lake Okeechobee, but in the Caloosahatchee and St. Lucie estuary. And I'm just really buoyed and excited at the approach that you're taking. I think the technical expertise that the district has, not only to manage data, but share data, and then also go to the next step, which will be embodied in the watershed protection plans, the development and implementation of regional and sub-regional water storage and treatment projects throughout the Northern Everglades, Lake Okeechobee, and the estuaries is really the key to ultimately achieving the water quality objectives that we have and restoration targets we have in South Florida. So thank you for this excellent presentation. I commend you for the track that you're on. And I have maybe a few just minor administrative comments on the rule that I'll provide as a follow-up. But overall, the approach is solid, and thank you very much for the tremendous amount of time, energy, and effort that you've put in to get us to where we are today. And I, for one, am excited about signing up for the beta version of the DB Hydro new insight. So thank you.
Ernie, as always, thank you for your comments and your support. Danielle, any other comments, hand raises?
Yes, we have Gary Ritter.
Yeah, hi, gang. I'm not going to reiterate everything Ernie said, but I echo his comments. Pam, Stephanie, staff, Dwayne, y'all have done a great job with this. I think you're going in the right direction as well with the works of the district program and also focusing on those areas with the water quality monitoring where regional, sub-regional projects can be implemented. Dwayne, I am extremely jealous of the DB Hydro system that you all have created there. When I was at the district, I had a difficult time even navigating the old system that you initially put up there. So I will also be signing up for the beta test on this. It's just a wonderful job what you've done. And Drew, I think as you have stated, you need to be really proud of these folks. They've done a great job, and I look forward to working with all of you as we move forward in improving water quality throughout the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Next, Danielle.
Next, we have Richard Bedell.
Hey, this is Rich. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry, I've had difficulties in the past with this new technology. But anyway, I won't take a lot of time. I also wanted to just commend, Drew and Jennifer and Pam and Stephanie and Dwayne. You gave a lot of information out today, all very well done and coordinated. Again, I agree that I think you're really headed in the right direction with 40E-61. It's very consistent with some of the comments that I provided back in July. I think it's really the embodiment of what the legislature kind of had in mind as far as the coordination between the three agencies, your network and expansion of that network in combination with clearly laying out the responsibilities of landowners who choose to monitor. Combined is going to generate a lot of great data that's going to help us focus on those areas that really need attention and integrate these programs, whether they're DEP or DAX or the district, into a, a cohesive solution to get us the water quality treatment and benefit that we need. So I'm not going to reiterate what Ernie and Gary said, but I feel the same way. And great job, all of you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rich. As always, thanks for your comments and your support. Danielle, are there others?
Yes, Doug Gaston.
Good afternoon, everybody. Doug Gaston, Audubon, Florida. Just want to say thanks for putting this update together and providing the additional information about where things stand in the process. This new DB Hydro tool looks pretty good, looks pretty exciting, and I think we're encouraged with how user-friendly it looks. So we're also looking forward to participating in this beta project to play around with it and see how easy it is to gather or check information and use that tool. So hats off to the team for that. More data is always helpful, and the additional monitoring that the district is doing will also be really helpful. I want to go back to a couple of specific things. On the Taylor Creek Nubbin Slough slide that Stephanie showed early in the presentation, it showed total phosphorus really low in 2019 and 2020. And there was some, I think you alluded to some new projects in that sub-basin. But, those were 2 dry years. And that's usually the trend, that in dry years, you see the nutrient flows go down, but in wet years they tend to spike. So if you look at 2018, really spiked pretty high, and I think the total phosphorus to the lake was over 1,000 metric tons, and that followed Irma. And so I think you have to maybe pause for a minute and see what the numbers look like in 2021, because we're having such a wet season right now, and my guess is that we will see those numbers rise again. And that really brings us back to a point that we've made on a number of occasions, and that's that we were disappointed to see that this new rule doesn't include a nutrient reduction component for either the lake or the estuaries. The additional monitoring is good. The increased coordination, data sharing is always a good thing. And, if you can gather additional information from parties who sign up for these permits to do water quality monitoring, although I'm not sure how many people are really going to volunteer for that one rather than just signing up for BMPs and getting into the voluntary BMP program. But if you can gather some additional information from that, that's not a bad thing either. But the numbers are still the numbers, and we had a TMDL set in 2001. It has consistently been 3, 4, 5 times higher. The loads to the lake have been 4 or 5 times higher than the TMDL. And in wet years, really wet years, spiking, again, to what we saw in 2018. So, that still gives us a lot of concern. This is a very slow process. It's a very difficult process. We get that. And, the structure that the different agencies are working under to try to address these issues are a little messy. So, we're encouraged that this December 2nd meeting with the interagency meeting has been scheduled, because we really do need all of the tools in the toolbox and all of the potential solutions that we have working as effectively as possible if we're ever going to reverse the trend and eventually reach the TMDL. And that's not to put all of the onus on any one stakeholder, but it's obvious that we need more across the board. So appreciate the update, appreciate all the information, appreciate the hard work that everyone's putting into this. But I think we need to come back to what is the goal here is, and nutrient reduction to help lower that load going into the lake is really got to be the singular focus here. And it's especially, given the nexus between the nutrient loads and the harmful algal blooms and what we've seen on that front too. So just encourage people to keep their shoulder to it, appreciate all the information, all the hard work, and we look forward to participating in the this DB Hydro tool, the beta trial, and also the meeting on the 2nd, the interagency meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gaston, for your comments and some insightful observations. Anyone interested in discussions on the weather patterns and the rainfall and their potential impact on how the data are represented, you can find some of that in the South Florida Environmental Report that we referred to earlier. I see a couple of more questions posted here. One is on DB Hydro Insights. Will TP load, as well as other nutrient loads and data, be available via total load or as a percent, or better yet, concentration? If the former, will water volume of basins and other bodies of water be available for analysis in order to determine concentration? Stephanie, would you like to take this question?
Actually, I think Dwayne might be better to answer that than me.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, thank you. So what we're doing, that's a great question. And we're encouraging folks to sign up at www.sfwmd.gov, which is our homepage, /insights, INSIGHTS, because we want to get you together with the team that's developing the tool. And, the team really understands the data we have, the calculations we can make, and what we can present. And we actually have a cross-functional team that goes beyond IT. And so I'm not able to directly answer that because I think it's really great feedback to feed into our process to our team, let them look at it and see what we can come up with and what we can do for you. So thank you. But again, if you're able to sign up anyone to participate in the beta program, it's www.sfwmd.gov/insights. And we have /DB Hydro Insights as well, if you just remember DB Hydro Insights. So we look forward to that.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next question posted on the board. At what time increments will this data be available? For instance, is it annual data collection? So that will depend on the sample location that you're interested in and that you're looking up data for. In some cases, we collect data, and you'll see data in DB Hydro bi-weekly, some of it's monthly. So it really depends on the site that you're interested in. Then when you look at South Florida Environmental Report, it's usually summarized more at a higher level, like annual data collection. So hopefully that answers your question. Danielle, any other hands raised?
Yes, I see one here. Benita Whalen.
Good afternoon. Benita Whalen, Florida Cattlemen's Association. I would just like to echo some of the earlier comments. I'm not going to get into those in detail, but we do seem to be heading on a path of interagency collaboration and reduction of duplication and most efficient use of resources, which I believe is the path to getting the most accomplished. So I want to commend, the agencies on the upcoming meetings and more of the coordination that's occurring. I would also like to mention, we're hopeful that more collaborative water projects with landowners also continue as an alternative to additional public facilities in the northern watershed. They've proven to be effective, and I think there's a increased watershed expansion role for those types of projects. And thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Benita. I see a couple more posted comments. One is, will the district be investigating the impact of internal lake nutrient loading and the various sources of nutrients? Stephanie, would you like to take that one?
Sure. The focus of the watershed protection planning is basically the focus of the nutrients within the watershed, but the district does have other programs which look at the in-lake. So we are doing both, but what you're going to hear us mostly talk about at these workshops is what's happening within the watershed.
Thanks, Stephanie. We have another clarification requested here, and I think they're referring to something you may have said, and they're asking if you are referring to Indrio Road.
If you're asking me, I don't believe I mentioned Indrio Road. I think that came from a public commenter.
Okay. Sorry, we can't help you with that one unless something gets posted as a follow-up here, and I'll let you know. Danielle, any others?
I do not see any at this time.
Stephanie, I think this is a good one for you. How are those in-lake and watershed programs coordinated?
That's a good question. Well, as a lot of the in-lake phosphorus studies are done by our applied sciences group, our group works closely with them because they are also working on the research and water quality monitoring program. So that's how we coordinate together.
Thank you, Stephanie. So at this time, the board is clear. Danielle, any more hands raised?
Yeah, I have one hand raised. Melody Neha.
Melody Naja, I see your hand is raised, but your mic is muted.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Actually, this is Yogesh Khare from the Everglades Foundation. So first of all, I would like to thank for today's presentation and update to 40E-61. I would just like to echo some of the comments made by others. The new tool, DB Hydro Insights, is very exciting, and I'm looking forward to using it. I think it will be a really good addition to the toolboxes that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. We'll give it another minute here to see if there's anyone else preparing to post or raise their hand. Oh, I see there's clarification posted now about Indrio Road, about there being a new city or community going in at Indrio Road. So in response to the other commenter, yes, Nyla Pipes was referring to Indrio Road when she was talking about that development. So hopefully that answers your question. Again, we'll give it another minute. So nothing new coming up. So just in closing, I would just want to reiterate the district's commitment to engage the community as partners in this restoration efforts. We're doing everything we can and are open to suggestions for other things that we can do to ensure that you have the information needed to participate in a meaningful way. We want to hold ourselves accountable, the coordinating agencies, as well as the communities. The communities are a big part of identifying the problems and coming up with the solutions to be able to really make an impact on restoring the Northern Everglades. We thank you so much for your participation today. Please, we encourage you to sign up for DB Hydro Insights, to go to our web board and to check out the South Florida Environmental Report, and to participate in our workshop coming up with the coordinating agencies. With that, we'll close the meeting. Thank you so much.